Hey guys, what's going on? Now today I've got a spicy build that can carry you all the way through Apocalypse. Now I've had a few people say they wanted to see this Thor God of Thunder build, so here we are. And of course we'll be running through Narud in this video to celebrate the greatest Thor movie ever created, Thor the Dark World. Now there are two main things we're going for in this build. The first one is obvious shock damage. We're the God of Thunder after all. And since the Overload mod we're using increases our fire rate, remember Hotshot increases base damage and Corrosive increases crit chance, we're going all in on fire rate. I did try this build first with the Chicago typewriter, but I think the Corrosive build is just going to be more suited for that one. Now today we're using the Bonesaw LMG, and of course with the Overload mod so we can do shock damage, along with the Twisted Wounds Mutator so we can get some extra crit chance back with the rest of the bleed gear that we're throwing on. For the melee weapon, I have the Krell Axe, which is the closest thing to Thor's hammer that we're going to get. Plus it has shock damage already on it, so easy choice there. And this melee weapon can also be thrown, which makes it one of my top melee choices in the entire game. Lastly, to keep the shock theme going, we're of course going to use the Enigma secondary. This thing was top dog before the nerf, but even with clearing trash mobs on Apocalypse, this still got the job done, so you know. Alright, for the classes, we're actually not using Hunter Gunslinger. I know you're probably all as shocked as I am. Now, I've heard the comments that you want a little more survivability in Apocalypse mode, so we're going to go Challenger and Gunslinger. The prime perk from Challenger gives us Die Hard, which is a second life every 10 minutes or until you touch a crystal, which is just great on this difficulty. As for the first perk, we're picking Rampage, which is good for keeping damage high, and also gives us additional fire rate. For the Gunslinger perk, we've got Bullet Storm, which increases fire rate even further. With these two perks combined, we're getting more fire rate than ever before. Now onto the armor set, you can of course use whatever works for you, but I wanted to get as close a look as Thor from the MCU as we could. So we've got two pieces of the Radiant set, which kind of look like his armor with the cape and all. Next up we've got the Labyrinth gloves for extra protection, and lastly I added the Field Medic hat to give him that incognito look. This is the perfect disguise so we don't get noticed and hassled for autographs or else saving the world. Truly the best disguise we have access to without a mod. For the Relic, I actually have a new favorite one, the Tranquil Heart, which is a huge pain in the butt to unlock. But if you have access to it, this Relic gives us 2 health per second over time, no matter what. And if you combine this with Triage or the Life Gain perk, you don't even have to activate this heart to go back to full health right away. For the Relic Shards, we've got the ones for crit chance, crit damage, and of course an additional 10% fire rate. How could I resist? For the amulet, since we've got Twisted Wounds, we might as well add the Abrasive Whetstone to get back some crit that we're losing out on. These two together are one of the best damage combos in the game, easy. If you don't have access to the Whetstone, you can always use the Ravager's Amulet, which is a great second choice in the meantime. For the rings, we have the Stone of Malevolence, which gives us extra mod generation while we're using our shock rounds, so we can chain those together. As long as you're doing enough damage before the mod runs out, the second one should be good to go right away. Next up, we have the Probability Cord. It's back. We love an extra 30% crit damage. This is literally my favorite ring in the game for DPS. After that, we got Xania's Malice, which is going to capitalize on hitting weak points for a huge damage boost. And in the fourth slot, you actually have two options. Option 1, which is my preferred, is the Ikaria Warband, which is an absolute boss killer. Every time you dodge an attack, you get more crit damage and a higher crit chance. Now this has diminishing returns in co-op, where the boss might not be attacking you while wearing the slot. And in that case, we have 3 rings that we can use instead for just a flat 10% damage increase. Vestige of Power is great if you're good at not getting hit. An extra 10% damage across the board if you don't take damage for 7 seconds. The Grounding Stone ring is great when we're using our mod, but if you're in between uses, you are kind of missing out on a bit of damage here. And lastly, if you clear your hardcore playthrough, you can use Ahane's Crystal. Since we're getting 2 status effects, one from bleed and one from shock, that's an extra 10% total. For our traits, we get strong back and ammo reserves by default, so we can wear some heavier armor as well as carry extra ammo. I added long shot so we can get some extra damage range with our LMG, and we added regrowth so we get some additional passive healing over time, so our Relic is working overtime for us. Vigor and endurance for extra health and stamina, Spirit and expertise for more mod power and faster skill cooldowns, and I'm gonna leave the last slot up to you. I like footwork so I can strafe enemy attacks without having to dodge certain ones, but you could use the Triage skill, which increases the healing you receive so you can have even more passive healing over time. With all 3 of these together, you never have to use another Relic heart again. Alright, and that's going to do it for today's video. I'm going to leave you on this 2-minute Talratha kill so you can see it in action. Subscribe if you enjoyed. See ya.